Libertarianism is what I would call the most misunderstood mainstream political ideology. And that is made no more clear than in this video by JimmyTalks called My Critique of Libertarianism. So get ready as we dive into this textbook definition of I talked to a leftist 8 years ago who claimed to be a libertarian.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to JimmyTalks. So let's talk about libertarianism a little bit. On the surface, it sounds appealing, everything that they say, because they're talking about freedom and the Constitution and taxation is theft. And
we are 10 seconds into the video and he's already getting things wrong. No, libertarians are not constitutionalists. It is not the Constitution that grants you your rights. It is just how the world is. I mean, we see every single day that the Constitution isn't actually doing anything to enforce these rights. Gun rights are being taken away all across the country, especially in Virginia right now. So how is the Constitution really helping with that?
And everybody hates the IRS. You know, every time taxes, that kind of time in the season comes around, I fucking hate it. And I think everybody can also agree that the federal government is very bloated and it's just strangling this country. But when you actually look at libertarianism, we don't find allies as right-wingers. It's kind of just as destructive to the American nation and the Christian faith and our European heritage as anything coming out of the progressive left. In fact, in many ways, libertarians are just the useful idiots for the liberal regime. They are wolves in sheep's clothing who open the gates for the very tyranny that they claim to oppose, and I will tell you why. And before I even start, there's like 10% of libertarians that I like.
Yes, the people who want to completely disband the Fed and most centralized governments, in fact, all centralized governments, are somehow useful idiots for the leftist, guys. It makes total sense. You know, the people who are probably the most for gun rights, the most for just rights in general, are really the ones who are the useful idiots for the leftists, because they don't care if gay people get married. Like what is your point here? In his tone, it feels like he's just really trying to grasp at straws. I honestly don't know how he stretched this video out to 22 minutes and 6 seconds, but he did somehow. And we're gonna watch all of it, so just stick around.
The other 90% are just libtards in disguise. But anyways, the fundamental problem with libertarianism is that it treats human beings like interchangeable economic units, rather than spiritual beings with a culture and a history and a nature that requires order. So I'm pretty much going to be attacking libertarianism, and I fully expect to get some heat for this, but it is what it is. So
yes, we know the famous commies in disguise. You know, Rothbard, Hoppe, Mises, Hayek, all those guys. All absolute libtards, guys. Now going into his second point, what he's doing here, guys, is he's just trying to poison the well for people that don't know what libertarianism is, so that they can just think it's whatever he says it is. Basically, libertarianism is not an economic philosophy. It is a solution to law in a decentralized state. It happens to pair extremely well with Austrian economics, and I'd say most libertarians follow Austrian economics and agree with Austrian economics, but it's not a mutually exclusive thing until we push it to its logical conclusions. But at its base, libertarianism is more a solution to law and non-aggression and voluntarism, as apart from an economic philosophy. I can't believe I actually just missed that. He was trying to slip in there this little spiritual beings there, implying libertarians aren't Christian. Well, I'm not the most devout Christian myself. I happen to know a lot of people, in fact, most libertarians I know, are extremely Christian, and not just like some Protestant evangelicals. No, they're Orthodox and Catholics. So to say that libertarians don't take in spirituality is a completely ridiculous statement. There are obviously a lot of atheist libertarians, but I wouldn't even say it's the majority.
I think that libertarians, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, operate on this childish notion that liberty is the only value that matters. But I'm going to be totally honest with you. Letting people do whatever they want is not civilization. It's really stupid. Liberty without morality is just degeneracy. And that is the key facet that libertarians fail to grasp.
Did you learn about libertarianism and anarchy from the public school system? Evidently you did, because apparently your idea of libertarianism is no rules at all, guys, and people are running around, shit's on fire, people are shooting at each other all the time. That's not libertarianism. Libertarianism has, I'd say, just as many rules as normal things, as any other political system, rather. except it's decentralized and it's just all condensed into micronations operating under the NAP, and you can choose what rules, except for the NAP, that you wish to live under. I don't understand how somebody can go and make a 22-minute long video about libertarianism and how it sucks while doing absolutely zero research before making the video. You don't even have to like read Hop or anything. All you could have done is literally watch like 3 Mentis Wave videos, and you'd be way more prepared for this video than you are now. You're also operating under this false notion that you need religion in order for there to be morality.
When this country started, we had immense freedom. We had so much. We had liberty. But at the same time, 99% of the population was Christian. The cultural baseline was a shared European heritage with a shared moral framework. The founding fathers didn't create a government for a chaotic, atomized mob of atheistic consumers. Like, get excited for the next product so I can consume. John Adams also said this very plainly. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other.
Holy fucking shit. John Adams himself said it. Well, it's got to be true, guys. I mean, John Adams could never be wrong. Such a lazy appeal to authority. Again, libertarianism isn't anti-Christian. I don't understand why he thinks this.
Hey, come on. He said it himself.
Oh shit, he said it himself? Well, it's got to be true then.
But libertarians read the Constitution like it's a suicide pact. They ignore the moral and religious part and just focus on the freedom part. But you cannot have one without the other.
Again, libertarians aren't constitutionalists. I don't understand why he thinks this. Liberty means constitution? No, not at all. You can have moral frameworks that aren't based in religion. It's more about having a high trust society than a highly religious society.
If you give absolute freedom to a population that has no moral compass, you do not get a free society. You get an insane jungle. You get chaos, and eventually people will beg for a tyrant just to restore some semblance of order. You can disagree all you want, but that's just a fact. Take the drug issue. All right, let's talk about the libertarians' POV on drugs. This is where the libertarian brain rot is the most obvious, because they want to decriminalize everything. And I'm not talking about marijuana, weed, there's an argument to be made there. I'm not even totally against weed. I don't like it personally, but there's an argument to be made for a legitimate medical use, like purpose. I don't like when people use it recreationally either, but let's be totally honest, it's not as damaging as like crack, okay? But it's stuff like meth and fentanyl and heroin. The libertarian argument is always, well, it's their body, buddy. It's their choice. If they die, it's just a Darwin Award. That is an absolutely retarded way to run a society. Let me ask you this. What is the purpose of the state? What is the purpose of a government if it cannot do something as simple as keeping poison out of the hands of its own citizens?
So I would actually say to you, is poison not an armament? The Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, and poison's not an armament somehow? What is the definition of an armament? We could go into that. But poison, as you say it, it has many beneficial medical uses. Fentanyl, you just mentioned, has legitimate medical uses. But even then, if you have a society who's not depressed and poor, they're going to be a lot more likely not to do hard drugs. And even then, your covenant, your private city, can ban the drugs. Drugs are also a moral question regarding the NAP. At what point does it become aggression to be doing drugs? Does it become aggression when it starts to affect my children negatively because I'm not working? I would say, yeah. But other libertarians would have other opinions on that. Meth, you also just mentioned meth. Meth has legitimate medical uses too. Meth is used to treat ADD. The medical name for it is called disoxin. Also, since when did laws prevent people from getting fucking drugs? If you wanted to, I'm sure you could find fentanyl right now within the next 30 minutes if you just walk outside and find some geeker on the corner. Not to mention the crack epidemic was literally caused by Ronald Reagan and the government.
We are not isolated atoms floating in a void. That is not what humans are. We are a community. A junkie, for example, shooting up in a park is not just exercising his liberty or something. He is a blight on the neighborhood. He is a danger to children.
Yes, he's a blight on the neighborhood. Yes, he's a danger to children. Kick him out. Like, what are you talking about? Have you done zero research on libertarian thinking at all? Are you that lazy that you didn't do a single bit of research? You didn't watch one video. You didn't read one book before making your video. Physical removal is a massive thing in libertarian spaces, mostly Hoppian spaces, but in a lot of other libertarian spaces as well.
He is a drain on the resources of the productive citizens.
Jimmy, do you want to know why he's a drain on everybody else? Say it. It's one word. Say it with me now. Welfare. Welfare. A government fucking program funded through fucking taxation. Libertarians, I know this is going to shock you. I know you said it at the beginning of your video, but it's still going to shock you. Libertarians hate taxes. Minarchists, at the very least, want extremely minimal taxation. And anarchists, which are most libertarians, want absolutely zero.
Now, I'm not calling for a return to the 1990s style war on drugs or what have you, but it is basic common sense. It's logic 101, actually, that you keep drugs made in some guy's bathtub or a sketchy lab in China or Mexico illegal.
All the more reason they should be legalized so that people are getting the actual pure forms of the drugs that they want.
You use the law as a deterrent. You don't just shrug your shoulders and say, no, live and let live, Darwin Award. Because the inevitable result of the libertarian policy isn't just people doing what they want. It's state-subsidized suicide.
Did you just use libertarian and state-subsidized in the same sentence? Are you not hearing yourself right now?
So look at what happens when these policies get enacted that they are so in supportive of. You don't get a free market of drugs if you were to just legalize everything. What they want is something called safe injection sites. I argued with this guy before. I think it was on Discord. This was years ago. I wasn't even doing YouTube. I don't even really remember who he was or what it was. I just remember this conversation. But anyways, he said we need to have safe injection sites. He wanted everyone, like the taxpayer, to pay for basically overdose facilities.
So a guy that's supposedly a libertarian wanted more taxpayer-funded government programs. Are you hearing yourself right now, dude? Some dude that I talked to 8 years ago in a Discord call, don't remember his name, don't even remember his ideology. He said Christians want to molest children. Guys, he said it. It must be true. He said he was a Christian, guys. Didn't you literally say at the beginning of your video that libertarians think taxation is theft? So by that logic, any libertarian who supports this would be violating the NAP because they'd be in favor of theft. Like, what are you talking about?
I've had libertarians seriously argue that this is a good solution. It's places where junkies can go, shoot up safely, and if they overdose, a medical professional paid for by your tax dollars hits them with Narcan so they can wake up and do it again tomorrow. Do people seriously think that's a good idea to have in a neighborhood, near a school? You know, you think free junkie centers are the hallmark of a high-trust society? No, absolutely not. People are not incentivized to get clean when you give them a padded room to do drugs and just destroy themselves. That is not liberty. That is just the state aiding and abetting the destruction of its own people. That's absolutely fucking insane to me. Now, libertarian economics. Let's move on to that. Libertarians worship the free market like it's a god.
You are a nationalist. You worship America like it's a god.
In a vacuum, sure. I'll give them that. The idea sounds nice. In a small and demographically stable, high-trust country, a free market is great, actually. But we don't live in that. We don't live in a perfect textbook. We live in modern America. A totally free market in a country like this never works out the way that they promise it would. Basically, it always ends in one of two ways. Either the government and the corporations collude together through backroom deals and lobbying to crush the little guy, like small family businesses in Main Street, and it ends up being all about Wall Street instead, or the market gets so insane that one massive monopoly ends up running the whole entire country anyways.
Jimmy, monopolies are caused by the government, and libertarians don't want a centralized government. Do you not understand this? Monopolies are caused by corporations lobbying for more regulation to crush out the little guy. It seems you understand this. So, in this framework of a libertarian society who wants no centralized government and only wants micronations and private cities, How is this going to happen? I agree. The free market cannot exist in modern America because modern America is ran by a bureaucratic democracy. This democracy, which is incentivized to keep people on welfare and to keep people hooked on drugs so that they have to rely on this said government and they can manipulate their voter base.
So the fact of the matter is we need regulations, not the shitty excessive red tape that we have now. Of course, there's an argument to be made there. There's nuance to everything, right?
Okay, so what's your plan to prevent governments from doing what they've done throughout all of human history and overreaching past that? You're a constitutionalist, but even you can agree that the Constitution hasn't stopped them from infringing on the rights of the people. So your response to this, which I'm assuming would be to propose regulation that prevents them from doing that, doesn't make any sense because they can just go and change the laws to fit whatever they need it to fit so that these corporations can become monopolies. Even if somehow you magically get rid of legal lobbying, illegal backroom bribes are still going to happen because even though there is legal lobbying now, there definitely are illegal backroom bribes that go on. I find it very ironic that you call the libertarian vision idealistic and utopian. However, your entire philosophy revolves around the fact of if everybody just this, if everybody was just Christian and went by Christian values, we would be absolutely perfect, guys. And yeah, if everybody could go by standard Christian values of the 10 Commandments, life would be absolutely amazing. But guess what, Jimmy? That's not how the world works. You use the same exact logic that leftists use, but instead of equity, you replace it with Christianity. You completely ignore praxeology and incentive structures in the same exact way leftists do. You have this idea that people can just be changed and that people can just be changed into being Christians and then the world will be absolutely perfect if we just force everybody to be Christian. I don't want to misrepresent him. I said something that made it kind of sound like he thought everybody can just magically become Christian. No, he doesn't think that, of course. He's not that stupid. But he does want to use the government to force people to become Christians, which is no different than leftists wanting to use the government to force equity on everybody.
But regulations to prevent slave labor factories from undercutting American workers and importing H-1Bs and to prevent distinct moral hazards is kind of needed, you know. But
it's going to shock you. Slavery violates the non-aggression principle. I know that's shocking. And H-1Bs are a government-caused problem. Anyway, with that being said, guys, this video is getting extremely long. I'm going to do the full video, but it's going to be broken into 2 parts just so that it's more easily digestible. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all those good things, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.